game now, with what I've got sitting next.
Who's cut the grass, or who hasn't cut the grass? One or the other.
Absolutely, it's more like 40% of the ground has its grass cut, whereas 60% of it has a thick covering of the same. So it'll be interesting to see which of the teams wins the toss and which side they decide to kick into.
Yeah. Which end should we bowl from first?
Yes, absolutely. Plenty of cricket references and pretty much expected from an Englishman when England are doing well in the Ashes.
Yeah, we normally don't talk about it.
Well, there's the Sri Lankan team in what is actually their away colour, the blue that they are playing in, whereas Lebanon are playing in their usual red, which is what we associated with them in the first game. Now let's stand by, shall we, for the anthems.
And now, for the national anthem of Sri Lanka.
Yes, there we go. Early signs in this match, Stuart. Interesting, the contrast in terms of physicality between these two teams, which we'll get a good idea of as they proceed for the handshakes now.
Yeah, just looking across the teams there, but I mean, I make it about 7 players who are 6 foot plus in the Lebanon side, and there's probably only about 3 in the Sri Lanka side. So straight away, I would say Sri Lanka need to work hard. You know, it's got to be about hard work and endeavour for them, and get about the pitch and close things down and be a nuisance, you know, because they've got to make up for that physical disadvantage.
Yes, probably need to pick a leaf out of the Indian book, which they did in the last game, even though the Indians lost. But they did put them under pressure, particularly of the set pieces. And that looks like that will be quite important. Interestingly, when Sri Lanka were warming up, the biggest emphasis was on 2 things, fitness as usual, and the second was set pieces, which was dealt with by most of their players.
Yeah, and in the warm-up, Sri Lanka did a lot of work on, there was a lot of movement stuff going on. There was a lot of enthusiasm in the warm-up, and everybody was on the move, and everybody looked like they were really happy to be here. You know, everybody wanted the ball in the warm-up, and that's a good sign, you know, because that's got to be their game plan tonight, you know. It's got to be based around hard work and endeavour.
Yes, hard work and endeavour will be required in this particular match. First, a look at the Sri Lankan lineup. Make a note of some of these names, because not only are they a little bit difficult to pronounce, but I'm sure they'll make an impression over the next few days. Particularly watch out there for number 10, who's played in Dempo before in India, Ediri Channa.
Yeah, well, in the warm-up again, he looked like a decent player technically. You know, they were firing balls at him and he was controlling and laying off and turning, changing direction. You know, he looked okay.
Couple of changes for the Lebanon team. They've rested their first choice goalkeeper, Larry Mahana, And in place, Elias Prija gets a game, and Akram Mughrabi gets a start up front in place of Mohammad Gaddar, who started in the last game against India. But on the whole, a very good settled lineup. They looked very compact in the last game, although perhaps fitness was a little bit of a concern. From that perspective, I'm sure they'll welcome this enforced one-day break which they've been given, so they can come back recharged for this particular match.
Yeah, I think it's great for them. I think they will really have appreciated that extra 24 hours. The players, that is. I'm not so sure about the staff, because you set everything out, you set your programme out and your plans out, you know, to kick off at 6:30 last night. So I'm not so sure about the staff, you know. But I'm sure the players will benefit from that 24 hours.
Well, it was an absolutely crazy downpour that really caught us all unawares. In fact, we must say that we couldn't get you any pictures from that because all our equipment was pretty much under siege. It was more a case of wanting to save it up for the games up front rather than trying to take any pictures yesterday. Rohan, today's chief referee from India, his assistants also from India. In fact, there's been a change from the lineup from yesterday. So we have Mohammad Kamil and Francisco Fernandez with him. And here's Sampath Pereira, the head coach of the Sri Lankan team, just newly in charge, so understandably looking very nervous.
Yeah, I noticed he got a good plug in for the sponsors as well in his interview. I don't know if he's on a percentage or what, you know, Mr. 10%. But,
well, the stage is set. The pitch is looking quite good considering the battering that it took in the downpour yesterday. But we are pretty much all set for kickoff in this Game 3 of the ONGC Nehru Cup 2009. It's Lebanon who get things underway, the team with 3 points behind them and a 1-0 victory over the hosts and holders India, playing in red, going from right to left, and up against them in blue, a very smart blue as well, are Sri Lanka, making their Nehru Cup debut, at least as far as this 2009 edition is concerned. Now this has been slipped through to the captain, Madhuranga. He's looking for some options, trying perhaps to go down the right side to Rahim, but forced to put the ball out because there's been an early injury to one of his teammates.
yeah, he won the ball in midfield there. He's nicked the ball, little interception, and got caught doing it.
Well, Bob Houghton's in the house, and he'll be making some notes because particularly as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, they'll be one of those important opponents that India must beat from here on, having lost to Lebanon.
Yeah, interesting to see right away from the start there. So, Lebanon are rolling the ball around at the back, and the first thing the two Sri Lanka strikers did was run back towards their midfield players. So it looks like they've got a little plan about, they're not going to press early, they're going to press later. If they want to do that, you know, they can use actually the cut grass line across the pitch as the line of engagement. It worked quite nicely there.
Well, there's a look at what Stuart is talking about. Look at that. It's very, very green on the left side of your picture, but as we go to the right, it's just a little bit more bare because there's been a lot more shearing of the grass around there. Now this man, Mohammad Asmir, has just taken a little bit of a knock as he went in for that tackle. I'm sure it's not going to be too much serious, so we should see him in action back enough. Back with a Lebanon possession, which they'll comfortably give away to their opponents because they were the team with the advantage. Well, the early signs interesting, aren't they, Stuart? Because Sri Lanka seem to be playing a little bit cautiously at the moment.
Yeah, they seem as if the two front men, every time they lose possession, are going to withdraw early. And then that'll give them, with the four midfield players, it will give them a solid bank in front of the back four. That's okay, but you've got to break very quickly when you win possession. Otherwise, you just give the ball away again.
Well, this time around, just straying into an offside position, and by quite a significant margin there was Akram Mughrabi.
Well, there were three of them
on
there.
his face. Yeah.
He's like the queue at the bus stop.
Yeah, well, look at that. Striker from Al Najmeh, and interesting that he's been given a start here. Lebanon obviously feeling that confidence which they've got from beating India in that opening encounter. They reckon that they can save some of their big stars for the major battles ahead.
Well, he's got to do better than that there, Deb, the right back. Technically, I mean, that's a stock ball for the full-back there. To get that out your feet, one touch, and then drop it in the corner, you know, that you want your full-backs to be able to do that automatically.
Well, what it has done is quite comfortably given possession away. Yet again, the offside flag going up, this time against Mahmoud Al-Ali.
Well, they're playing very compact, Sri Lanka. They're playing a high line at the back. with the front men dropping off at the front. So they're playing a very compact game at the minute.
Well, the high line is good while it works, but they've got to be careful because Lebanon showed it repeatedly against India, didn't they? That they have some speedy players who, if they spring the offside trap one of these times, then they'll have their goalkeeper in trouble.
Yeah, well, Lebanon have probably said already, if they're going to play like that compact, then our best way to score is by getting behind them early. If we can't play through them because they're compact, then we'll play route one and try and get behind early. Now, they've done it 3 times already and they've got the linesman's flag, but they've only got to break it once, and you've got a problem.
Yes, absolutely. And meanwhile, on the counter-attacks, Sri Lanka thus far not making any impression, but this was a chance to put some pressure. Number 6 there, Mohammad Isadin, put Elias under a little bit of pressure, but couldn't quite get that ball away. Now this time, this ball has been played up down to the right flank, which worked so well for them in the last game against India. It's Hamza Aboud down that right who makes a number of good runs and sends in good crosses as well, but well caught there by Kumara, their goalkeeper.
Yeah, well done the goalkeeper. First test.
Well, many of the Sri Lankan players actually play for their defensive, their civil services and defenses actually, defense services. One of them is Kumara, their goalkeeper, who plays for the Navy. So it's an interesting one. It's a team composed mostly of not real full-time professionals, and that's perhaps also a blessing in disguise because they must play together a lot.
Yeah, well, I've heard that on good authority there's 4 or 5 of them play professionally in the Maldives, and I think, you know, when football's at the stage it is in Sri Lanka, you know, your players, to better themselves, have got to get out of the country.
Well, it's a free kick for the same man, and ironically enough, in pretty much a similar position and at the same point of the match as it was against India.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit farther out.
Ali Al-Sadi goes for goal but blasts this one over. Maybe it needed to be on the other side of the pitch for him to score.
Yeah, I think that's about 10 yards farther up the pitch than it was the other night. That's quite hopeful, that.
Yes, never really threatened Kumara's goal at all. Never really swerved the way that it needed to. So no panic buttons at all for the Sri Lankan defence.
That's risky, Deb. That's risky. That's a risky goal kick. And look at the problems it's caused.
Well, the fact that Sri Lanka haven't played before, that might just cause them to not quite get adjusted to the conditions here. I think that could be a factor because none of these teams have really practiced on this ground before.
No.
So Lebanon, with that wisdom of that experience in the opening game against India, will perhaps cope with these conditions a little bit better than their opponents. But this is better from the captain, leading from the front. Lovely through ball. It's been picked up by Channa. He doesn't have too many options inside the box though. Waiting for support. Almost got himself into a little bit of a tangle, but he does find some support here from Rahim. Oh, this is back for Channa. It's a great through ball. Sri Lanka score first. What a dramatic beginning. Mohammad Isadin gets the opening goal. Lovely through pass there from Channa. And Lebanon, we talked about their defensive weaknesses earlier, and it has come to the fore for Emil Rustam.
Yeah, well, we talked before we kicked off about the number 10, Deb. You know, I said I had a little feeling for the number 10 after in the warm-up, watching him in the warm-up, and he's played a very big part in that goal. If we watch here now, he's got that ball. Look, that's a lovely little ball he's threaded through there. And he also did well on the initial break by getting the ball in the corner and keeping it. There it is, look, beautiful ball he's threaded through there.
That was Channa's goal all the way, even though